By the way, you know this guy? DeepSeek CEO Liang Wenfeng, right? This is actually fake. We'll get into that in a second. DeepSeek this, DeepSeek that. This AI model not only took over the internet this week, but it also crashed the stock markets. It became the most downloaded app in the App Store, plus the top productivity app on the Google Play Store. Its search volume on Google even surpassed ChatGPT. So what the hell happened? What exactly is DeepSeek, and why did it cause such a huge disruption globally? That's exactly what we're going to go over in this video. I'm going to clear up a lot of misinformation about DeepSeek and talk about why this is actually a much bigger deal than you might think. Note that last week, I already published a video on DeepSeek R1. That video went over what exactly it is, how it works, and how you can use it. I'm gonna avoid repeating too much from that video, so definitely check it out if you haven't already to learn even more about DeepSeek. Anyways, let's jump right in. First of all, I think the reason why DeepSeek got so much coverage is that this is a perfect story for the media to cover. This is a classic David versus Goliath story, where the underdog unexpectedly beats an industry juggernaut. Or maybe one could say this is open source finally catching up to closed source AI. This gives the power of AI to everyone, not just big corporations or governments. Just to give you a brief background about DeepSeek, this is just a side project from a Chinese hedge fund. Their main operation was quantitative trading, but because they already have a ton of GPUs lying around, which were used for quant trading, they've decided as a side project to also try using these GPUs to train and test out their own AI models. Note that DeepSeek has less than 200 employees, whereas OpenAI, for example, has over 5,000 employees. DeepSeek, as a Chinese company, was also banned from using the best GPUs out there like NVIDIA H100s. More on this in just a second. It's a known fact that one of the limitations of creating higher intelligence is compute. This refers to something called scaling laws. The more compute you have, all else being equal, the more intelligent or performant your AI model will become. So as you scale up the compute, the less error prone and the more accurate the AI model will become, all else being equal. And that's why the US government is teaming up with OpenAI and other tech giants to create a $500 billion data center, because they need as much compute as possible to create AGI and eventually ASI, artificial super intelligence. But DeepSeek didn't have that. They did not have the most powerful compute in the world. Their headcount is over 30 times smaller than OpenAI. And they didn't have billions of dollars in funding. In fact, the budget they used to train DeepSeek R1 is around $5 to $6 million, even less than the salary of some of the top CEOs in the US. So it seems absolutely impossible that this tiny company with limited resources, limited funding, and limited compute would be able to create a state-of-the-art AI model, let alone one that is as good or even better than OpenAI's best available model, O1, which is PhD level, by the way. In fact, here's a question posed to OpenAI CEO Sam Altman a few years ago.
Sam, can you just go into startups? I mean, as you know, we've got a very vibrant startup ecosystem in India. Specifically focused on AI, are there spaces where you see, let's say, a startup from India building, you can build on the models, be it ChatGPT and many others. But if you want to build foundational models, how should we think about that? Where is it that a team from India, 3 super smart engineers with, not 100 million, but let's say 10 million, could actually build something truly substantial?
Look, the way this works is we're going to tell you it's totally hopeless to compete with us on training foundation models. You shouldn't try, and it's your job to, try anyway. And I believe both of those things. I think it is pretty hopeless, but...
So let me repeat that for you. Sam said it's totally hopeless to compete with OpenAI on training foundational models. You need to have billions of dollars in funding. You need to have the best GPUs in the world in order to create the best models, at least according to Sam Altman. Well, DeepSeek just proved that to be completely wrong. With just $5 to $6 million in cost, which I'll go over in a second, they were able to train this AI model that is as good as the best models out there. So you can see the dark blue bar is DeepSeek, and for a lot of these benchmarks, it actually beats OpenAI's O1, which is in dark gray. And they did this by using a much smarter architecture or design. We'll go over this in more detail in a second, but because of this new design, we can basically see into its thinking process as it answers our prompt. In fact, here are some wild examples of this. So using their free chat platform, which I'll link to in the description below, let's say I prompt it with something like, hey, with 3 Ys. And then over here is where I can turn on this deep think feature so you can actually see into how it thinks as it answers your prompt. So let's see what we get. So here it says, okay, the user sent hey with extra letters. This is a casual greeting. I should respond in a similar tone to keep the conversation light. Maybe start with hey there to mirror their energy. Add an emoji like this to keep it friendly, and then ask how they're doing or if they need help with something. Make sure the response isn't too formal, avoid using any technical jargon, just keep it simple and welcoming. And then it outputs, hey there, how can I assist you today? So this is pretty crazy, how I just enter in a really simple line and it thinks through all of this before outputting a response. Here's another crazier example. So let's say I prompt it with give me a random number from 1 to 100. Here's its thinking process. Okay, the user wants a random number between 1 and 100. First, I need to make sure the number is truly random. Since I don't have a physical method like dice here, I'll have to rely on a computational method. So it decided to use a function like this, but then it says, wait, but how does the random function work here? Since I'm simulating this without actual code, maybe I should just pick a number in my head. But that might not be truly random. Alternatively, maybe I can think of a number based on the current time or some other variable. Well, I don't have access to real-time data. Perhaps I should select a number arbitrarily, or maybe I can use a mental algorithm. Wait, maybe think of a number I haven't used recently? Let's see, 42 is common, 7, 13, better avoid those. How about 73? Maybe that's too arbitrary. So, it's going on and trying to pick a random number, but it's not really random, so it's trying to decide, well, what should it do next? Maybe the best approach is to just choose a number that feels arbitrary. Let me just go with 57. Wait, why 57? No particular reason. Alternatively, think of a number between 1 and 100 that isn't often chosen by people. Studies say 37 is a common random choice, so avoid that. Maybe 73 or 58. So it goes on and eventually decides to give me 76. But you can see this thinking process is nothing we've seen before. This seems strangely human. Here's another example. You can also use this for medical diagnosis. So what do you think is going on here? A 9-year-old boy with cough, fever, congestion for 7 days, has severe pain in the calves, and is walking with a noticeable limp. So let's look at its thinking process. First, the respiratory symptoms, cough, fever, congestion. That sounds like a common viral infection. Maybe it's these options, but the key here is the new onset of severe calf pain and limping. So I need to connect the respiratory illness with the musculoskeletal symptoms. Possible causes could be this. In kids, especially after a viral infection like flu, they can get myositis, which affects the calves. Another thought is this one, which is muscle breakdown, but that's more severe and might present with dark urine, which isn't mentioned here. And then there's reactive arthritis, which can happen after infections, maybe less likely here. And then there's also this. Not sure if it fits here, but worth considering. So it's going through like all the possible options for diseases and infections given the symptoms and then weighing the likelihood of each one. So the most probable is acute viral myositis. And that is indeed what it outputs. So how insane is that? This is more thorough and knowledgeable than my family doctor. And like I said, if you look into its thinking process, which users can see if you turn on the thinking button, then it seems strangely human, as if it was self-aware or if this has some hint of intelligence. Now, keep in mind, OpenAI's O1 and O1 Mini also has this thinking feature, but this is not available in the free plan. You need to be a paid user in order to get access to O1 and O1 Mini, and even then, it's only limited access. So I don't think the majority of people actually know about OpenAI's O1. They're just using the free plan, which is using GPT-4o. So the fact that DeepSeek is offering this thinking model for free for everyone is pretty insane already. So that's the David versus Goliath story. A tiny company with limited funding and resource constraints was able to design something that beats a tech giant. Plus it has a thinking feature, which seems strangely human. This is already an amazing story in and of itself, but that's not all. They've also decided to open source this, or more technically, they made it open weights. So the training data was not released, but the models are released. So anyone can download a copy of DeepSeek and run it on their own servers, or run it offline on their own devices. So the fact that they're revealing the design, the architecture, and releasing this model for free for anyone to use and edit is just absolutely ridiculous. This finally distributes the power of AI to the people instead of being in the hands of a few powerful companies or governments. If you're not aware, OpenAI is not open at all. Their most powerful models are closed source. We have no idea how they were designed. And when you use ChatGPT, for example, your information is sent to their servers. There's no way for you to run a local version of ChatGPT offline on your computer. Here is what Yann LeCun, chief AI scientist at Meta, has to say. Open source models are surpassing proprietary ones. Because their work is published and open source, everyone can profit from it. That is the power of open research and open source. So now with DeepSeek R1, open source has finally caught up to all the closed source commercial models. Note that for the rest of these, except for DeepSeek v3 and DeepSeek R1, the rest of these are closed source. Anyways, this model was released last week, and then I made a video covering its specs, and then over the weekend, it started gaining more publicity and a lot more attention. And because of this, on Monday, chaos happened. Nasdaq dropped close to 3%. Google dropped over 4%. Nvidia crashed almost 20% over fears that their chips were overpriced and not really important anymore. At least that's what the market thought. And by the way, that drop from Nvidia, which is one of the highest market cap companies in the world, that drop of like 16 to 20% equates to almost $600 billion lost in just one day. And for your comparison, that's more than the value of Boeing and Home Depot combined, or Disney and Bank of America combined, or even Starbucks and Pepsi and McDonald's combined. Remember I mentioned OpenAI and the US government planning a $500 billion data center project? Now that's going to take years to build, and $500 billion is a huge amount. Like for your comparison, this is bigger than the GDP of many countries. But the fact that this DeepSeek announcement caused Nvidia to drop over $600 billion in value in just one day is pretty insane to think about. And also this week, the DeepSeek mobile app was released, and it shot up to the top of the charts in the App Store, becoming the most popular app, even ahead of ChatGPT. And the reviews were overwhelmingly positive. And if you look at Google Trends, this is the first time ever that another AI product has surpassed ChatGPT. The fact that the search volume of DeepSeek, which is the line in blue, has shot up so quickly in only just a few days is also absolutely insane. Note that we also have other AI models out there like Google's Gemini and Anthropic's Claude and Elon's Grok, but those are pale in comparison to the search volume of ChatGPT and DeepSeek. And this is legit. It has received some positive comments from notable people in the AI and tech space. So here's what Sam Altman has to say about DeepSeek. DeepSeek R1 is an impressive model, particularly around what they're able to deliver for the price. We will obviously deliver much better models, and also it's legit invigorating to have a new competitor. We will pull up some releases. Thanks to AI Portrait for sponsoring this video. A good professional photo on your LinkedIn or business profile makes a huge difference. Now, you could try to take them yourself or get a friend to do so, but most people aren't great at taking professional photos. Or you could hire a professional photo shoot, but this costs over $200 on average, plus you need to schedule a session and spend hours awkwardly posing at a camera. And this brings us to AI Portrait. You can generate a portfolio of professional, high-quality photos in just minutes. Just upload one photo, choose your gender, and it would generate a portfolio of 50 professional headshots in various settings. And it generates this within minutes. So if you're looking for high-quality professional photos without the hassle of a physical photo shoot, AI Portrait is your best bet. Check it out via the link in the description below. Here's what the former CEO of Intel has to say. Engineering is about constraints. The Chinese engineers had limited resources and they had to find creative solutions. Open wins. DeepSeek will help reset the increasingly closed world of foundational AI model work. Thank you, DeepSeek team. Here's what Mark Benioff, CEO of Salesforce, has to say. DeepSeek is now #1 on the App Store, surpassing ChatGPT. No NVIDIA supercomputers or $100 million needed. The true treasure of AI isn't the UI or the model. They've become commodities. The true value lies in data and metadata, the oxygen fueling AI's potential. Here's what Dr. Jim Fan from NVIDIA has to say. We are living in a timeline where a non-US company is keeping the original mission of OpenAI alive. Truly open frontier research that empowers all. It makes no sense. DeepSeek R1 not only open sources a barrage of models, but also spills all the training secrets. What a cracked team. Here's what Mark Chen, Chief Research Officer at OpenAI, has to say. Congrats to DeepSeek on producing an O1 level reasoning model. Their research paper demonstrates that they've independently found some of the core ideas that we did on our way to O1. Here's what Mark Andreessen has to say. DeepSeek R1 is one of the most amazing and impressive breakthroughs I've ever seen, and as open source, a profound gift to the world. With a nice little salute. So this is just to enforce that DeepSeek R1 is legit. They are acknowledged by a lot of notable people in the AI and tech space. Now, while it received mostly positive comments, others were quite bitter. So this guy, employee at OpenAI, tweeted this: Americans sure love giving their data away to the CCP in exchange for free stuff, only to immediately get corrected by this very handy feature from X. So readers added context that DeepSeek can be run locally without an internet connection, unlike OpenAI's models. So I really love this feature, by the way. It's a big slap in the face to anyone trying to post false information on X. They're going to get corrected really quickly. Now, because this is such an extraordinary story, they were able to create something from such limited resources and limited compute. This seems too good to be true to some people. Some people suspected they actually have more compute than they claim. Some people also suspected they put way more than $5 to $6 million in training R1. However, there is no evidence for any of this. In fact, some people did the math, and it aligns with what DeepSeek claims. So here's Emad, founder of Stability AI. He writes, DeepSeek are not faking the cost of the run. It's pretty much in line with what you'd expect given the data, structure, active parameters, and other elements and other models trained by other people. You can run it independently at the same cost. It's a good lab working hard. Here's another tweet by another AI scientist who has also done the math, and this is quite technical, but basically he also concluded that it's in the same ballpark. Finally, there's one thing I really want to talk about which really isn't emphasized in mainstream media. Even filtering all the hype and exaggerated headlines, DeepSeek is actually way bigger than you might think for the following reason. DeepSeek actually accelerates our progress to AGI. Now, to understand why, we first need to look at how R1 was designed and how they trained it. So this is a really high-level overview. Of course, I'm skipping over a lot of technical details, but basically, here's how they trained it. So they started with a base model called DeepSeek v3, which they already made previously. From this, they trained a new model called DeepSeek R10, and they trained it using a technique called reinforcement learning. In the simplest sense, this is where an AI model kind of has to figure out by itself if its answer is correct or not. So for example, if it was given a math problem, not only does it have to think through everything and come up with different solutions, but it also has to go back and verify its answers and prove that it's actually correct. And with this technique, first of all, it shows that there doesn't have to be any human guidance. We don't need to show it the answer and guide it on what to learn. We can just let the AI do its thing, and over time, with enough training, it can learn by itself how to solve problems and answer things correctly.
It's really, everything is kind of emergent. Nothing is hard-coded. It's anything that you see, out there with the reasoning. Nothing has been done to say to the model, hey, you should maybe, verify your solution. You should backtrack. You should do X, Y, Z. No tactic was given to the model. Everything is emergent. Everything is learned through reinforcement learning. This is insane.
So like the AI researchers said, nothing is hard-coded. Everything is learned using reinforcement learning. It has to learn by itself how to solve a problem. And because it has to think through every step to verify its answers, we get some crazy behavior like this. So here the AI is in the process of solving this math problem, but then it says, wait. That's an aha moment I can flag here. And then it discovers a better way to solve the problem, all on its own without any human guidance. So this aha moment shows how basically reinforcement learning can get the AI to learn and discover new things by itself, without any human guidance. Now that was just the DeepSeek R10 model. Next, they used high-quality answers from this model to train an even better model, which we all know as DeepSeek R1. So for DeepSeek R1, at the start of the training, it actually is fed some high-quality answers by DeepSeek R10, and then afterwards, it continued to train using reinforcement learning. And by feeding it this initial data from R10, it turns out that this DeepSeek R1 model is a bit smarter. And this DeepSeek R1 is the model that beats OpenAI's O1 in various benchmarks. But notice how everything is synthetic. They used the responses of R10 to train R1 initially, and then it continued learning by itself using reinforcement learning. This is basically an AI training another AI to get smarter and smarter. Now, if we just repeat this without even doing anything else, or if we pump more compute into the system, we're going to get an AI that becomes smarter and smarter, generation after generation. And all of this is without any human guidance. In theory, we could eventually reach AGI just by doing this. And if you couple that with Google's new Titans breakthrough, which is an AI model that basically has memory and can keep learning things over time, we already have the answer in front of us. We just need to scale this up and we will achieve AGI. By the way, if you want to learn more about Google's breakthrough, see this video if you haven't already. And here's another thing. Since DeepSeek was trained on a fraction of the compute that the big tech companies like Microsoft and X and OpenAI have, can you imagine if we added all this compute to train the next generation of DeepSeek, how much smarter would that become? In fact, I bet that's exactly what OpenAI and X and Meta are doing right now. They've already cloned DeepSeek since it's open source, and they're probably pumping a ton of compute into it to train the next generation. And this next generation would be orders of magnitude smarter, which is pretty insane to think about. And finally, we are back to this guy, who I mentioned at the beginning of the video. So this is Liang Wenfeng, CEO of DeepSeek, right? Well, that's actually not him. It's just some random Chinese guy who happens to have the same name. But it's kind of funny that the mainstream media is using this photo to represent the DeepSeek CEO. I'm sure this guy, like the real person, must be wondering what the hell is going on? Why is my photo showing up everywhere? Anyways, in case you're wondering, the DeepSeek CEO actually looks like this. No, I'm just kidding. He looks like this. This is one of the only photos of him, so he's pretty low-key. And here are some key excerpts from one of the only interviews of him. So when asked why he chose to innovate and then open source his innovations, won't the architecture you released be quickly copied by others? Here's his reply. In the face of disruptive technologies, moats created by closed source are temporary. Even OpenAI's closed source approach can't prevent others from catching up. So we anchor our value in our team. Our colleagues grow through the process, accumulate know-how, and form an organization and culture capable of innovation. That's our moat. Open source is more of a cultural behavior than a commercial one, and contributing to it earns us respect. There is also a cultural attraction for a company to do this. And then when asked, will you change to closed source later on? Here's his reply. We will not change to closed source. We believe having a strong technical ecosystem first is more important. And then when asked, do you have a financing plan? He says, we do not have financing plans in the short term. Money has never been the problem for us, which is expected. They are a quant trading firm, so it must be pretty easy for them to make money. He continues, bans on shipments of advanced chips are the problem. And then he says, more investments do not equal more innovation. Otherwise, big firms would have monopolized all innovation already. And then when asked about competition from other startups and firms, here's his response. Honestly, we don't really care because it was just something we did along the way. Like I mentioned at the start, this was just a side project. Providing cloud services isn't our main goal. Our ultimate goal is still to achieve AGI. So how cool is that? He doesn't care about money, he doesn't care about competition, he's open sourcing everything, and their main goal is to achieve AGI. Anyways, I hope this video gives you a good explanation of what DeepSeek is, what exactly happened in the past few days, and why this is actually a bigger deal than most people realize. All I can say is buckle up because we are approaching AGI really fast, much faster than we expected. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of this. As always, I will be on the lookout for the top AI news and tools to share with you, so if you enjoyed this video, remember to like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content. Also, there's just so much happening in the world of AI every week, I can't possibly cover everything on my YouTube channel, so to really stay up to date with all that's going on in AI, be sure to subscribe to my free weekly newsletter. The link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.